killed all these wasps, but I'm gonna have to kill them again. And I don't have any spray with me. I got a rake though. Think I can, oh, this is a horrible idea. We can knock. What's up, guys? It's Daniel from Arms Family Homestead, and as you can see, we're back out at the Mill Creek property today. I'm telling you, I am getting 100% fired up for deer season this year. I've got a few plans, a few things going on. I've invited a couple different creators out, maybe to do a little bit of deer hunting this year. Hopefully, we can make some things work out. But I brought a couple deer feeders over. I'm replacing some of the previous landowner left a couple deer feeders here. They're not in very good shape. They're pretty well wore out. So brought a couple deer feeders over, probably gonna move some game cameras around. I haven't seen a single pig since we trapped the 2 big boars the other day, which that's been actually several days. And you know, put out some corn and a camera, thinking I'd get that little sounder of the little sows and babies coming in, and haven't seen them yet. Haven't seen the wild dogs, or I'm not sure if they're wild dogs. The dogs we had on trail camera, I don't know if they belong to a neighbor in the area or if they are just wild. But if they stick around, we need to figure out who they belong to, and or if they belong to somebody, or if they're just wild running feral dogs. But they look like big Anatolian shepherds, which are livestock guardian dogs, and there's just not many people or houses in this area, so I really don't know where they belong. So as far as, you know, plans and work today, I set this, actually had to replace a barrel. This is an old tripod feeder a buddy of mine built for me years ago. There's 2 of them. I'm gonna put one here, and then I'm gonna put one over on the old 80 acres. There's the original deer stand the guy used to hunt out of. It's kind of a nice little box blind, but it's really only made for one person. And I think what I'm gonna do is, you know, that little shed back up at the trailer I told you I was gonna use for a deer blind? I think I'll bring it, do some cleanup work, and bring it and tuck it back in the edge of the trees right there somewhere, because this is a pretty good size field here. And Dusty, my brother-in-law, has that attachment that goes on the skid steer to pull trees out of the ground. It's actually a tree puller, and not instead of using the mulcher on some of these, because if I mulch that, then it's hard to come back in with my seeder because of all the debris on the ground. It picks all that stuff up. So we'll clean up some of the cedars out of this field. It's probably 2.5 or 3 acres, and then we can plant this in a fall food plot, hopefully. So anyways, I'm gonna pick up my mess, clean up my mess, and go start on another project here. So as you can see, I went ahead and brought the tree reaper over here. That forestry mulcher, that big disc mulcher is amazing. It does a job. Stirs up an incredible amount of dust, and it's made for mulching bigger, heavier stuff. The tree reaper here, you guys have seen this thing in the past. It's like a giant brush cutter for a skid steer. Now it has mulching teeth on the bottom of the, it's like a stump jumper under there, 2 big blades and a whole bunch of mulching teeth. So you can do some mulching. You can do a little lighter duty cutting, but this thing will cut down trees up to 7 inches. But my thoughts are, I'm gonna go around and do a bunch of cleanup around the oak trees, in and out of the edges of trails, knock down a bunch of cedar trees, and see if this stirs up just a little bit less dust. And just like the forestry mulcher that you guys have been seeing me use quite a bit lately, this is a tree reaper. That's the nickname for this big brush cutter, but it's made by a company called Ironcraft. I've talked about them several times. I'll leave a link in the description box, but yeah, this thing is really awesome. And that right there, I'm not joking, one of the best purchases I ever made. I absolutely love this machine. Well, change of plans, but first, that way less dust than the forestry mulcher. That big disc mulcher throws up so much dust, it's unbelievable because we're so dry. But I no more than got started with the tree reaper and cutting up a few cedar trees and just making my life happy. Killing cedar trees, knocking down a cedar tree and making it no longer exist is like one of the joys of my life. I hate cedar trees. But no more than I got started, my buddy that owns the wrecker service called and said, hey, I'm sending a driver out there since you're out there working to move your little shed. That really wasn't the plan for today, but since I'm here, we're gonna do it. And he had somebody available. So he's sending a rollback wrecker out, and we're gonna load this thing up and move it out in the pasture so we can retrofit it into a deer blind. And I think it'll make the perfect little hunting blind. It's not too big, not too small. We can add some windows, and I think it'll work fine. I'm curious if we're gonna be able to load it without ripping the little porch off, because that was added on after the fact. So as long as he can get that bed down and go under, I think we can winch it up on the truck. But I got most of the trees trimmed out of the way the other day. I killed all these wasps, but I'm gonna have to kill them again. And I don't have any spray with me. I got a rake though. Think I can, oh, this is a horrible idea. We can knock them down and run. Well, I didn't get stung yet. Be interested to see if we can even do it without yanking the porch off. Probably gonna happen, but I think the porch was added later. We'll see. Well, we got it loaded without tearing anything up, and slowly making its way across the pasture. Let's hope we can get it through everywhere we need to go without taking out any big limbs. I think I've got everything cleared all the way, so we should be good to go there. Almost there. I'm gonna put it somewhere right over on this edge of the field, and then we'll be able to hump this whole field out of the comfort of our new shed blind. Well, it made the journey. Well, it's here and on the ground, but not exactly where I think I want it. It would work, don't get me wrong. So my general thought process was, if we can get the door kind of tucked back up into the trees, it would make a lot more sense, because I could cut a trail and we could get in and access the blind without ever being seen from the field. But the way we had to load it and the direction it was on the truck, we would have had to bring it out here in the field, unload it, go around, pick it back up, and then set it off. And I don't exactly have a spot prepared, but we're close. It only needs to move about 10 feet probably, and it would be fine. I think it'd be fine if we just leave it right here, honestly. I need to level it, but I'll probably get my pallet forks one day and put them on the skid steer, and then I can get the pallet forks underneath it, throw some straps around the body of the building, not necessarily the porch, and at least just rotate it a little bit. All I want to do is just turn it like this so that it's kind of tucked back into the trees, and we can cut an access trail from inside the woods. And I think this will make a killer deer blind. Oh, forgot to get the clay pots off the shelf. My bad. But get it leveled out, put it in place leveled out, cut a couple holes for some windows. I think you could do, 2 on that wall and, maybe 1 on the sides. It'll be perfect. Well, I made a lot of progress today, cleaning up around the field edge, cleaning up around a lot of these trees. I came out into this field. There's a big berm right there. I cleaned up all the little elm trees on it. Like I said, the cedar trees, I think we're gonna pull out. You know, like this tree right here, basically everything that was in the shadow was pretty much all overgrown brush. Now that kind of leaves my new deer blind here hanging out in the wide open. For perspective, the deer feeder I set up this morning is over there, about 50 yards. So we're definitely going to need to make some adjustments on the final placement of this. So I think what I'll do is if I can get under it with the pallet forks on the skid steer, put some straps around it, and then just spin it, kind of tuck it into those trees right there so that it's in the shade. We'll be able to put a couple windows out that wall, which will look straight that direction, and then basically one window on either side. We'll be able to see over towards the deer feeder that way and the other end of the field that direction. So I wish I would have had this all done before, but I really don't think I could have got it where I want it exactly while it was on the wrecker, on the tow truck. So we should be able to move it, 20 feet at most with pallet forks and the skid steer and get it kind of tucked into the trees here, and we'll have us a nice hunting spot that's shaded and kind of tucked away in the trees a little bit. Well, alrighty, that's 2 deer feeders set up. Got a game camera set up in front of both of them. That way we can check and see if the hogs start hitting these spots. And one thing we can do is just set up the big hog trap right next to one of the feeders if we need to. But one thing I mentioned the other day I was talking about, and I think some of you might have got confused. I was driving the buggy down a trail over here, and I said, eventually one of these days, somebody may end up with a really nice property here. And a lot of people took that as I was thinking about selling this place, and that's not the case at all. Not anywhere in the foreseeable future. I'm just saying, with all the work I'm putting into it and building trails and clearing cedars and just all the things that I enjoy doing out here are making this place a lot better on down the road. When we first bought this original 80 acres, I was talking to the realtor, and I've shared this story before, but one of the things that he said that really struck a chord with me, he had been talking to Buck, the guy we bought this place from, and he kind of came back and told me a story, and he was like, one thing that, he took from Buck, the guy that was, has spent most of his life out here on this property, was he said it's not his, it's just his turn. And I, in turn feel this isn't mine, it's just my turn. Eventually this is going to belong to somebody else. Whether it's 6 months from now, 6 years from now, or 60 years from now, it's just my turn. And eventually it's going to be someone else's. I'm going to do everything I can to make it better than what it was when I got it. So anyways, it's time to hurry up and get it in gear. I've got to go pick up Houston from school, and Emily's got softball lessons, and all the things that the evenings entail. So time to get out. I would say it's time to get busy, but I've been busy all day. It's just time to get out of here and get busy doing something else. Before I wrap this thing up, I had one more thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and that is a few weeks ago I told you that Granger sent us his new book, Like a River, and I told you I'd report back after we read it. After I read it, at least. DJ had already read it. I finished it a few days ago. But just, well, I don't know, a week ago at the time of posting this video, Granger had his very last live music performance at Billy Bob's, Texas. Now, if you're not familiar with Granger Smith, Granger's a country music artist, touring country music artist. I don't know how many albums Granger has. He's become a really special friend of ours. We've got to know Granger over the last few years. But we bought tickets to the show at Billy Bob's, the very last show. I knew it was going to be a long, emotional, wild, crazy roller coaster. And it was just DJ and I in Houston, and we let him take a friend. And we paid for tickets. We didn't do backstage passes and all that stuff. We were out in the audience with everybody. Stood there for 2 hours before the show started, and then the show was over 2 hours long.
City boy style. Left hand you make a Y, right hand you make an E. Let's go for right, that's foul. Whoa, whoa, you can pop that clutch, you can pop that collar. Whoa. I've said many times, my name is Granger Smith, and it feels good to be here tonight. Thank you for being here from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for sharing in what is a very, very special night for me and my entire team and all of our extended families from that. This is something we'll remember for a long time, and I'm glad that you're part of it here. I want you to know that one of the reasons that we picked Billy Bob's these 2 nights in a row as kind of the landing pad for this is because it's, first of all, it's in our home state of Texas, and we have to come home. Bye boy in baseball, get him outside, get his hands dirty, take a little time, give a boy a Bible, teach him how to pray, thank the good Lord at the end of the day. Matthew chapter 13, Jesus is telling a parable. He says, the kingdom of heaven is like treasure in a field, and a man finds it and covers it up, and in his joy he sells everything he owns and buys that field. I want to tell you tonight, Billy Bob's, I want to tell you, we rolled up this weekend in tour buses that are sold. And gear that is sold. Why? Because I want you to know the same treasure that I have found. Desperately, I want you to know about this treasure. And I want to stand on the stage with a microphone, and I want to travel to your town so I can tell you about this treasure. I know that. My question is not that. My question is this. Will you join me on this next chapter also? Will you be there with me like you've been there with music? Will you be
tell you, Granger puts on one heck of a show, and he made Houston feel like the most special person on earth. Even though we weren't backstage, we didn't have passes, we were just normal people in the audience. But I would pick Houston up and hold him up, and Granger, you know, could see him. He'd see him out in the crowd. And when he would make eye contact with Houston, it like, I don't know, it was the coolest thing, coolest feeling. Houston was so pumped and so excited about it, and I couldn't think of a better role model for Houston to look up to as a country music artist or anybody than Granger. He's just a great guy. But anyways, as far as the book goes, Like a River, you need to get it. You need to read it. It's also on, there's an audio version. River was Granger and Amber's little boy they lost in a drowning in their pool oh gosh, I can't even imagine. It's been about 3 years ago, but I remember when it happened. I really wasn't a big fan of the Smiths YouTube channel, but we watched now and then, but we knew who Granger was. We just weren't friends yet. But Granger and Amber sat down under a tree in their yard and told the whole story about what happened, and it was the most heart-wrenching thing. And Granger has taken every experience from that over the last 3 years or so, and I guess it's been longer than that, really, because this is 2023 and that was in 2019, so 4 years, I guess. But I highly recommend the book. The funny thing is, I have to put this in here because, you know, Granger texted me and said, do you mind if we send you the book? And he sent us a little letter and all that. But look at this. So I got a note from Granger, but also a note from the publisher. And the publisher says, in accordance with Federal Trade Commission, FTC, please be sure to include hashtag sponsored on any social media announcements. So I have to say this video is sponsored, but I promise you Granger's not paying me to talk about his book. A friend sent me a book, but I still have to say this is sponsored by whatever. Anyways, it's not sponsored. FTC guidelines, but Like a River, check it out. If you're struggling with anything in this world, if you've ever gone through any loss, this book is so powerful. And Granger has now moved on from being a touring country music artist to being a pastor. And the things he talked about on stage at Billy Bob's were amazing. And I can't wait to go see Granger somewhere as a pastor on a stage with a different kind of microphone. I know he'll kill it. He'll do awesome. He's amazing. And he's an awesome performer, an awesome speaker. But the book, Like a River, go check it out. So guys, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. You guys have a great day. And as always, we'll see you on the next video.